join me in session here up at my Essex syndicate. Welcome to Carp Vault TV. My name's James Horne, one of the team members. It's been quite a cold morning, not too many shows at the moment, but every couple of hours now I'm going to introduce a couple of spoms of bait. I managed to actually nick one last night. It was only like a small one, but it's a bit of a blank saver. Just want to keep my spot top now. So I'm going to get the bucket out, get a bit of bait out, put a couple of spoms out. Right, my rod's actually clips up 28 wraps. I've got 3 bags out on a slight spread, about 30-40 yard spread. I've just got my spot rod out again now. As you can see, the braid's always dry. So what best thing to do is get some water and just wet the spool. Don't be dunking your expensive reels under the water. One, it ain't no good for mechanics, and two, after a year or two, they will seize up. You have to take them down to your local tackle shop, or you may potentially have to buy a new reel. So just wet the braid. Obviously it helps prevent all the frap ups and stuff like that. What I like to do as well is always with the leader, try and keep the leader down towards the back end of the spool, because obviously the leader's sitting up at the top. If you cast that, that's when you can potentially pull the braid off the spool. So try and keep your leaders obviously down towards the bottom end of the spool. Bit of a crosswind as well, so I'm going to actually aim a little bit left at my swim, because the wind will pull it over. Short that one, isn't it? Just a couple of spoms back out in the area. Try and entice a carp. Just going to do a couple of spoms every 2 or 3 hours. Hopefully just try and draw one down onto his spot. Well, I'll put a couple of spoms back out in the spot now. Right, once you finish spot rod, simple thing to do, just clip it up like that. Saves it banging about in the wind. You can lean it up against a tree, against your bivvy, just a little tip. Normally, most people do know it, but it's just a little thing that stops it swinging around. Just clip it back up like that. Also, as well, if your fingers stall, I've got a tendency of losing these, or when I want it, it's never in the right sort of place. So I put it back around the rod, like that. You've got your fingers stall and your spom. All as one, ready to go again when you put a few more spoms out. Last couple of years my angling's changed drastically. If you watch my intro video, I've started using solid bag rigs a lot. The reason for this is, obviously, as I said before, I'm a weekend angler. Turn up to lakes. I actually turned up to this lake yesterday. There was quite a lot of birds already diving on previous anglers' baits. So for me, using this like a bag rig, I can chuck it around. I'm not leaving loads of bait everywhere. I'm just leaving a mouthful of bait that hopefully fish can hone in on and I can nick a bite. This has massively helped my fishing, and to date I've caught my actual PB fish on this of 88 pound. So if you look at that now, that's a very sort of simple rig. Consists of 25 pound supernatural. It's a wide gape X, size 4. It's a flexi sort of hook swivel. and then obviously a bead on there as well. And I like to use the kickers. I do like the kicking part of it as well. It just helps the mechanics of the rig, helps it turn like that. Nails them every time. Also as well, fellow team member Richie Isles has been making me these for the last about a year now, and I have to say a massive thanks to him for that. I've caught some phenomenal fish on these now, and yeah, definitely my go-to bait in my bags. Absolutely love them. So with that, I'm going to put one on here now, show you what it looks like. I like to floss my baits on. Bit of floss through the eye. Mount them on long ways as well. Put them down. Scissors, what we're done with them. Get a line, I'll just burn it off like that. Nice little blob. And then I will put that inside your solid bag. When I'm bag fishing, I'm using mega long bits of lead core, usually only probably about 300-400mm long. What I find is you'll splice one end. See, I've actually put a size 8 swivel on the end there, spliced on. I've just spliced it on there, and I'm about to cut this other end. What I found is when you cut this end, then you go to splice this end, you can actually pull the lead from this end, so you end up with no lead core down this end. So a little tip, some might already know this, but I find it very helpful. You get a pair of pliers, a pair of forceps, anything like that. If you just clamp your lead core tight like that, in the middle, somewhere along like that, put them down there, cut off the desired length that you want. Actually expose the inner core again, strip back, like that. Then you can see you've still got the nice flexy bit there of the outer core, and I've not then pulled the lead from this end. So then you stick your splice needle back in again, pull it through there. So I only want a loop at the end. Take that off. Then you've got one short little bag leader with lead running all the way through, and I've actually pulled any lead from this end. So it's a small little bag leader. What I'm going to do now is put on a, I like to use the long tail stems like that. Use a long stringer needle. Put that through there. Hook it on. There we go. Now what I've got to do is get the lead out and put a lead on. I like to use leads roughly between 3 and 3.5 ounces for my bag work. So basically just wet that up, put that in like that. That's because I like to put the lead core around the outside, inline sort of drop off style. Bit of moisture on there. Pull that down onto there. And basically that's my inline sort of setup, ready to go. So if a fish comes along, basically pulls the lead out of there, that will just pull off and it's away. You can also use them inline as well if you wish. Just run it up through the lead core like that, but I prefer to do it like this. You've got no chance of fish ever trailing a rig around or crack off or anything like that. What I do as well is I always you see the rig before, put a small little loop in here. So if I'm leading around, I can literally lead around with just the lead, and I haven't actually got the rig on there as well. So just put a small little loop in there, push that through there, hook goes through. All pulls nice and tight like that. So it's basically ready to go. For my bag fishing, I like to use the small bags. Obviously I like the colder ones. There's other ranges on the market, so just use which ones obviously you're happy with. I like these ones because they've got no seam along here. Obviously they're not perforated either, so if I like to inject a bit of liquid or goo or anything like that, I'm free to do that. It's not going to come out the ends. During the colder months you can find that the bags can come a little bit brittle. So what I'll do is either get them between my hands, just give me a little bit of a warm up, like that. Also as well, I like to put a hole through the bottom of the bag here, like that, all the way through. So when you're tapping it down, it just helps get the air out of the bag. I like to hold the bag like that, in between my two fingers. You may find, if you've been leading around and this cut, obviously your legs can be wet, you've been fine dropping around for your spot, etc. Your leg can be wet. Either get a bit of towel or something like that, or what you can do is I like to use a little bit of ground bait and stuff. You just roll it around your lead, you rig everything that may be a bit damp in the ground bait, so it's all nice and dry. And you know they're not going to, your bag's not going to melt. So literally, I'll put the towel on my lap like that, fill it in. Sort of squeeze it all down into the corners, make sure you've got no little gaps anywhere. About 3/4 full, and I'll get the lead and I actually drop the rig down behind my two fingers, then manoeuvre the lead into the bag, and I use the weight of the lead just to push it down like that. With the lead then flat against the back of the bag, I'll get my lead core, go in between fingers like that, and that actually holds the lead at the back of the bag. So I'll go over to my pellet, keep that there, and let's just start loading in the pellet, which is about 3/4 of the way full. Hold the stem at the back, make sure it all shakes down nice and tight, like that. Then hold that in one hand there, come round, get the rig, and this is the bit I'm particular about, is obviously if you left it like that, you imagine that is how it's going to be fishing, which is not ideal. I like to spin my bait over, actually manoeuvre it, push it down into the bag. What you've got to think about when you're using solid bags is how you load this bag is how it's going to be left and how it's going to present. So I like to push that all the way down to there, and then you can see the hook. So that's all sitting nice, bait's all sitting good. Just load a little bit more pellet in. So your lead's at the back. Now we should tap it down, just nice and tight. Give it a good, don't be too frightened of giving these a little bang about. Just nice and compact, all the corners are nice and tight. Then all I do is just give it a little twist, keep pushing it down. You could just lick and twist that. What I like to do is just get your PVA tape, which I've cut off already. Go around about 5 or 6 times. Grab your two ends like that. Then all I do is just do a couple of overhand knots. Trimming off there. Now that at the moment is a fairly tight bag, but you can make it a lot tighter. So what I do then is I like to push really well at these ends in. Don't be frightened to be a bit rough with them. Pick the corners. Hold it for a couple of seconds. And do the other side. Push it, don't be frightened to really sort of push them in, manoeuvre them in, because there's loads of air in these bags, loads of, get the thing, bit of a lick, push it over. It's still a bit messy, so what you can do is you can either lick them round, or get your scissors. Obviously don't cut through your tape you tied it round with, cut the excess off. Looks a bit neater. So if obviously this venue I'm at the moment, I can't actually fish with a lead core. This is just for demo purpose. But I would try, if I was going to a session, I could use lead core. I'd probably have 10 of these pre-tied. But what I would say is, be careful. Obviously, what you put in here. Remember that if you put any sort of like liquids or anything in it, it can react with a hook. So if you're putting hooks in, you're tying them up for say 2 or 3 weeks in advance, just be mindful that then the hook might be slightly tarnished. You always go over the hook with a jack pen or something like that, but I've been caught out myself where I tied a load of bags up a good few weeks in advance. When I actually went to use them, I had an aborted take and I come and my hook was like perished. That's because obviously you've got in the bag, so just be mindful what you are putting in them bags. What I like to do as well, obviously I'll hold my hands up, I'm a bit of a goo fan. So what I do is I do a slight little hole in there, a slight little hole there. Obviously don't, and then what I'll do is I'll inject a piece of goo into there, and obviously that bag's then ready to go. So, but obviously don't put the goo in before you're going to cast out, because this will make the PVA go slightly soggy. It may, obviously break up when you're casting, so do it just before you're about to cast out. So if I grab one of my goos, just inject it in. Don't have to go mad with it, just a little bit of extra traction. And that is ready to go. So you see the hook's that side, lead's that side. So as you're going to cast out, obviously make sure you hit the clip. That's going to land down. It's always going to land that side up. Always going to land like that. So when the fish comes in, they're coming over the top. Your hook bait is bang there, ready to go into the carp's mouth. That's a lovely little tactic that I've started using for the last couple of years now, and I've caught a lot of fish on it. And it's something I'll carry on using. Right, at the moment, obviously this is for demonstration purposes. Obviously, as I keep saying, not allowed to use lead core up here, but as you've previously seen, I've tied the bag up. But I'm going to demonstrate you now what it would sort of look like as it's going into the lake water. So I'm going to drop it onto the sandy spot there, and you can see how this breaks down and how it'll be presenting. As you can see, obviously it's in shallow water at the moment, so it's getting washed around a little bit. Obviously the gooey's obviously lingered around a bit at the moment, but if you can see the orange haze, it is starting to dissipate throughout the water columns. And I think during the colder months, an inquisitive carp will come in, and it's nicely stuck to my hook bait as well. So, you know, if your hook bait's sitting there and it bounces a bit of smelly silt or something, you've still got that bit of attraction there, which is stuck to the hook bait. And I think obviously during the colder months can pay dividends and obviously can generate bite or two. Last night I was sitting there in my bed chair just watching the water. I had a couple of bleaks on my left hand rod. Obviously I'm fishing really tight lines, I've got quite heavy bobbins on because of the chop of the wind and that. And I've shone my head torch on my delk, and my bobbins literally just sitting there in the delkim. So I'll start off, well, I've obviously got one on, so I put my boats on. By the time I got my boats on and got out my bag, it just slowly started peeling off. Coming fairly easy, putting like a bit of a fight. Obviously I'm using quite heavy rods and stuff, but we're very happy to catch a really sort of scaly mirror. So yeah, it's well hooked, just proves that the taxi, the bags are working. Obviously as you can see, it's very bleak conditions today. I've been scanning the water all day, but not much is showing at the moment. So another night to go. Hopefully, fingers crossed, have some more fish to show you.
Right. James, you recently went on a French fishing holiday with your friend.
Yeah.
And where did you go?
I went to Blue Water Lake in France, which is about 4-hour drive the other side of Calais. Got some really big fish in there. Friends have been there quite a few times. Obviously this was the first time for me. They've been there sort of like 5 or 6 times. I haven't been to France for about, must be easily a good 10 years. And the actual going there was a bit of a ball ache anyway, to actually get the trip organised. A bit of a funny story, mate. Dave booked it we booked up to go, and then the year we was meant to go, he actually rang me up and said, James, we're still going to France. I went, yeah. He said, but it's not this year. He's put the wrong date on the booking, so he's actually going the following year. But it all worked out pretty well, because as we was going to come in to go to France, we all went into lockdown. So bit of a blessing in the sky really, that he'd actually put the wrong date on the booking, and then we was going to go the following year. So yeah, it was one of them, really good.
So what was Blue Water venue like, James?
Yeah, it was a really nice lake it goes. The lake's probably about 15 acres I suppose, 20 acres in size. There was 6 of us who went, so we was in like the main bar of the lake, but there's a spit bit that come off, which had like a big back bay to it. Depths ranged over there from about anything from say 4 foot. I mean, the swim I was in went down to like 21 foot. The bottom was like a mixture of gravel, silt, clay. The margins actually dropped off really deeply, really quickly. So it was like that. Yeah, swims are well presented. Swims are kept really nice. There was a shower facility there. There was freezers for your bait. Nice. All the grounds itself was kept nice, all mowed nice. It was a really nice venue. Really nice venue. Yeah. So yeah, it's really good.
So what was your main strategy for fishing the place? What was the way you handled it, the way you attacked it?
At first, I try and fish same tactics what I use over here. Obviously, uprated my hooks a bit. I went for like X size hooks, bigger hooks. Uprated my line a bit as well, so like 15-pound line. Sometimes I use 12-pound line. I borrowed I'm not a massive fan of bait boats, but I did actually. Simon, who's a member of obviously Carp Vault, he lent me his RT4. Obviously, I knew nothing about it at the time. But lucky enough, my friend Ian was a bit of a whiz with the bait boats. Because I was using large amounts of bait, I thought it'd be easier just to put the bait in a boat, drive it out, drop it off. I could fish mega accurate all week. Obviously, it's not a venue I'm going to be going to all the time, so I didn't want to take any chances with, cracking off, leaving line in the water, leaving spombs about, etc. Kept all the disturbance down to a minimum. I still went for the solid bag approach. Obviously, I know when you go to France, everyone sort of does a set, but I thought no, I'm going to still stick with the solid bag approach. I just got the larger size bags, nice big 4-ounce lead inside them, and I was putting make a nice sort of solid bag, crumbing a bit of bait over it, bit of pellet, bit of boilie. Then I was using a bit of mainline smart liquid over the top, and I was sending that out probably 2 or 3 times a day, depending on how many bites I got.
You had a few fish. Can you tell us? Obviously, we know we're here to talk about your big one, but maybe talk a little bit about some of the other fish you had. Yeah,
obviously the first night I was there, obviously because the margins were really deep, like it literally drops off to about 12 feet in the margin. I don't generally use back leads, but I was told by some of the cutters guys before, if you do hook a fish, they do bore up and down the margins. So I actually put 3 back leads on, and it was the worst thing I've ever done because it was a total disaster for me. I had one time in the middle of the night, obviously first anticipation of actually getting a bite, I was like over the moon, and I was playing this fish. My friend actually said, they fight really hard. Well, this was going on for about 35 minutes, and it was like, I felt like I was going to pull my arm off. What had happened is, I picked a fish up, it had kited past my friend, and it hooked a guy's line to the left of my mate in. So he'd got my fish in, and then while he's standing up there, he thought obviously the fish is tethered in the lake. He's got into my line and he's wrapping it round and pulling. And this is going on for about a good half hour. Then my friend Ian come down because he see the hook link and he knew that I was using solid bags. He thought, well, no, he said, James, I've just got this rig out of a fish. I went, you're joking? I went, I'm still playing a fish. And he's kited away up the left. He said, no, you're not. He said, you're playing John nearly 200 yards away. So then I could have kicked myself really because, like I said before, I don't use back leads, and I know why I don't use back leads now, so immediately they come off. Next day, obviously kept putting the bait out, kept getting the spots going, obviously picked up another fish. That was, if I remember right, that was a 34-pound mirror, so it was nice to finally get one in the net. I was really happy with that. Obviously put my rods back out again, kept baiting up. I think the next fish I had was a 43-pound mirror, if I remember rightly, 43-pound mirror. So I was picking fish up. Obviously it's not runs water, but I was picking fish up sort of 1 or 2 a day. Me and my friend Ian working well as a pair. But what we found is we was obviously going out getting food every day. We was bringing our lines in, and one day I said to Ian, I went, let's leave the rods out, because we noticed as soon as the lines come in, the fish would turn up in areas and they was bubbling up. So one day I said, no, we'll leave it. We had a bit of food left over from the night before. We had a bit of cold meats, a bit of bread and all that kind of stuff. I said, I will have that for dinner tonight. We won't go down the shops. Lucky enough we did, because we left our rods out, and I had 2 or 3 fish that day. And they ranged between sort of 30 pound up to sort of mid 40. So I was really happy with that. Obviously, like I said before, I kept putting a bait in. What I found is I was fishing sort of quite a wide sort of spread on my rods, but my right hand rod didn't seem to do anything. So what I started doing was I brought put my rods in a lot tighter to one sort of concentrated area. So I was concentrating. My mate Dave was fishing opposite me, and instead of having like I say a 30 or 40 yard spread, I was going to bring my rods down to about sort of 6 foot apart. Still putting loads of bait in there, loads of sort of the house pellet, because you have to use their pellet. We had the new mainline prototype bait as well, which seemed to work really well. But ultimately, the bait we found worked the best for us out there was the cell. The cell was, they were just smashing the cell to pieces. As we were catching the fish, you could see they was just crapping it out all the time. So we knew he was on to a bit of a winner with that. We was told that cell had actually blown on there, but obviously we proved them wrong. But running towards the later part of the week, I had a bit of a disaster swim really I was in, to be honest with you. I'd hooked this fish, and obviously because I wear glasses, I leave my hat on top of my rucksack, and I've got out and I'm playing this fish. So I thought, I've got the fish in there, it's a nice big common. I've run my friend Ian up, said, can you come down here, let's do some pictures and stuff. And we must have spent the next hour on our hands and knees looking for my glasses, because where I jumped out of my bivvy and picked my hat up, I thought my glasses just falling down my rucksack. What I've done is I've chucked them over the back of my bivvy. So we're in the pitch black. I'm worried about him actually stepping on my glasses. He's the only pair of glasses I've got, so I can't lose my glasses. And we're on our hands and knees, literally about an hour looking for my glasses. But lucky enough, they was over the back of my bed chair. So yeah, so it was a bit of a mixed emotion week for me over there. So at one point I said to him, if my van was here, I could have quietly come home, because the first few days for me there were quite a bit of a grueler. But towards the later part of the week, we started picking a few more fish up. Obviously, early hours of the morning, I had a take, and obviously, yeah, fish fought pretty well. Ian came down again, because we had a little thing going. If one of us got a bite, we'd ring each other's phone, because obviously fish charge up down the margins. There's nothing worse than taking your other two rods out that were in play at the time. So I can't even lift the rods up, you know, we work together. Tip was a bit bouncy like that, and I thought, that's half decent fish. And then he was saying to me, treat all your fish like it's a PB. And I said, nah, it's only like probably mid-30 on here. It's not a massive one for sort of like French sort of standards. Well, he was standing in front of me, and as I've pulled up, this fish has rolled, and he's turned me and said, James, that is massive. He said, you've got an absolute like hippo on there. I said, really? I said, it doesn't feel that big. Well, after him saying that, I did sort of ease off a bit, and I started gingerly playing it. And when it finally broke on the surface, there was this mammoth of a carp there, and he was trying to net it. But obviously the net is actually hitting the side of the carp, so he had to actually go down underneath to get this carp in the net. And when he said, come here, look at this, like the width on a carp, like, you know, as a saying, you could put a saddle on it. You could put a saddle on this carp, all right? But at the time, I thought, yeah, it's a big carp. Obviously, my intentions were there to go there and catch. I'd have been happy with a 50 pounder. I was happy because Dave and a few of the other boys had caught 60s. I said, look, if I catch a 50, I'll be over the moon with that. Mate, Dave come round and that, and he's sitting in there. He said, James, that is massive. He said, that's absolutely huge. So I got down. We went to just to lift it up on these scales, because my scales only go to 60 pound. But his go to, like, he's went to 90 pound. So we got the fish on a crook on the scales. It actually bottomed out his 90 pound scales. So I was like, no, that ain't right. This is like, it's got to be caught on the bottom. So we then rung the owner up, and he came down with his son. He had a set of, say, I think that was about 150 pound scales. And there's me in the water, 3 of us got it on the thing, and there's like 2 or 3 of us trying to actually winch this fish up. And he looked at me and went, that's Migsy, and he went, it's 88 pound. And I went, like, the emotion just coming to me, I went, no, it can't be. I said, it can't be that big. He went, yeah, it's 88 pound. So from going to France, actually, like, from a really poor start to the week, I never thought I'd have gone there and caught like absolute fish of a lifetime. And I was absolutely blown to pieces with a fish that size. Ian, at the start of the week, I actually wanted to go into his swim, because I didn't want to be stuck in a corner. And I said, no, I don't really want to be sitting in a corner all week. But Ian said, go in that swim, mate, fish these spots. He went, don't come off your spots. I stuck to my guns, kept trickling a bit of bait every day. and yeah, it paid off. I caught absolute fish of a lifetime. Coming to the late part of the day now, coming to late afternoon, as you see, daylight's slowly slipping away now. Got 3 rods back out in the money, booby's an absolute mess. Tie this up, sit back, relax, cook yourself some dinner, and hopefully have a carp or 2 for you to see in the morning, fingers crossed. Saloon boys, mid 4 bites, 4 on the bank, so can't complain. Sort of drags doing the business. Wind's changed again, north easterly now.